You know what's really painful? It's when you start to realize that the man you've been giving your heart to might not actually be giving his back. At first, it's just a quiet doubt in your mind. You try to brush it away because you want to believe that what you have is real. You tell yourself that maybe he's just tired, maybe he's busy, maybe you're just overthinking. But deep down, something doesn't feel right. It's that uneasy feeling that creeps in when his words sound sweet but his actions don't match. And sometimes it's not what he does that gives him away. It's what he says. Because when a man is using you, there are certain phrases that just slip out. He might not even realize it, but his words start revealing the truth he's trying to hide. The first phrase usually sounds like this: "You're overreacting." It comes out when you try to express how you feel. Maybe you ask him why he's been distant, or why he always cancels plans at the last minute. Instead of listening to you, he turns it around. He makes you feel like you're being too emotional or too sensitive. He acts like your feelings are a problem instead of something that matters. And what happens next is subtle but powerful. You start doubting yourself. You start wondering if maybe you really are asking for too much. You shrink a little every time you silence your own heart just to keep the peace. That's exactly how a man who's using you keeps control. He makes you believe that you're the problem, so you stop questioning him. But let's be honest, you're not overreacting. You're just reacting to being undervalued. You're reacting to inconsistency. You're reacting to a lack of respect. The moment a man dismisses your emotions instead of trying to understand them is the moment you have to pause and see it for what it is. Because love doesn't silence, it listens. And if you ignore that voice inside of you for too long, it starts to hurt in ways you can't even explain. It's like slowly losing your own voice while trying to hold on to someone who only speaks when it benefits him. Then comes the second phrase: "You're different from other girls." Now, on the surface, that might sound like a compliment. It feels good at first. You think he sees something special in you. You feel chosen. But that's where the trap begins. Because a man who's using you doesn't actually mean you're special. He means you're convenient. When he says you're different, he's setting the stage to manipulate your boundaries. He wants you to believe that you need to keep proving why you're not like the rest. So you start forgiving things you normally wouldn't. You start accepting behavior you'd never tolerate from anyone else. And you do it because you want to keep being the exception in his eyes. The problem is that this phrase is rarely about admiration. It's about control. He's flattering you to make you stay attached while he puts in the bare minimum. It's emotional bait. He knows that once you start believing you're special to him, you'll start working even harder to keep that position. You'll make excuses for his distance. You'll wait for his messages. You'll defend him when your friends raise concerns. And before you know it, you're the one doing all the work while he just coasts along, taking what he wants. It's heartbreaking because you keep thinking that if you love him a little more, he'll finally see your worth. But the truth is, if a man is using you, he already sees your worth. That's why he's holding on. He just never intends to give you the same in return. And then there's the third phrase: "I never ask you to do that." This one usually shows up after you've done something kind. Maybe you went out of your way to help him. Maybe you supported him when no one else did. You thought you were building a real connection. But when you bring up how much you've given, he hits you at that line: "I never asked you to do that." And in that moment, it feels like your heart drops. Because what he's really saying is that he doesn't owe you anything. He's separating himself from the effort you've made so he doesn't have to take responsibility for it. That phrase is a way of rewriting the story. It makes you feel foolish for caring too much. It's his way of saying your kindness was your choice, not something he values, not something he appreciates. And when you hear that often enough, you start to close off. You start to question your own generosity. You begin to believe that giving love freely only leads to being taken for granted. That's the kind of emotional damage that doesn't heal overnight, because it's not just about what he took from you. It's about how he made you feel about yourself in the process. Now let's pause for a moment and really think about why this pattern happens. Women who love deeply often believe that love can fix things. You see potential in him. You remember his softer moments, the times he smiled at you, the moments he opened up. And you hold on to that version of him, hoping it will come back. But when a man is using you, those moments are not signs of love. They're moments of convenience. He gives you just enough to keep you from walking away, but never enough to make you feel secure. And every time you forgive his distance or overlook his words, you teach him that your boundaries can be bent. That's where the pain starts to grow. Because deep down you know you deserve more. You know you deserve effort. You know you deserve a man who listens when you speak, who values your emotions instead of dismissing them. But when you stay with someone who only takes you, begin to lose sight of that truth. You start accepting crumbs because you're afraid of starting over. You tell yourself it's better to have something than nothing. But the reality is that nothing is better than being half-loved. Nothing is better than being used under the illusion of affection. I know this hurts to hear, because it means facing the truth about someone you care about. But sometimes clarity is the most loving thing you can give yourself. The sooner you see a man's true intentions, the sooner you can take your power back. And that's the part where everything starts to change. Because once you recognize these phrases for what they are, you can stop giving them meaning. When he says, "You're overreacting," you can calmly say, "No, I'm reacting to what matters to me." When he says, "You're different from other girls," you can smile and reply, "I don't need to be different to be respected." And when he says, "I never asked you to do that," you can remember that kindness is your strength, not something he gets to dismiss. The real solution isn't about changing him. It's about changing what you allow. It's about understanding that your worth isn't determined by how much you give to someone who keeps taking. Your worth exists whether he recognizes it or not. Once you start believing that, you stop chasing validation from people who were never meant to hold your heart in the first place. You start setting boundaries not because you're cold, but because you finally understand that peace is more valuable than attention. And here's the beautiful thing. The moment you start walking in your worth, the wrong men will naturally fall away. The ones who were only there for what they could gain will disappear because they can no longer feed off your energy. But the right kind of man, the one who genuinely sees you, he won't be scared of your strength. He'll respect your honesty. He'll listen when you speak. He'll never make you feel small for caring too much, because he'll care too. And that's the kind of love you deserve. The steady kind, the safe kind, the kind that grows without games or manipulation. So if you've been hearing these phrases lately and feeling that quiet ache in your chest, I want you to know something important. You are not crazy. You are not too emotional. You are not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong man. Because the right one won't make you beg for clarity. He won't make you question your worth. He'll show it in the way he treats you every single day. It takes courage to walk away from someone you love. But sometimes, that's exactly how you love yourself better. When you stop settling for being used, you make space for being cherished. You stop fighting for someone who doesn't fight for you. And you start remembering who you were before the confusion and the self-doubt. That's where your strength lives. In that quiet decision to choose peace over chaos, to choose truth over excuses, to choose yourself over someone who keeps showing you that you're just an option. So take a deep breath. Let those 3 phrases be your wake-up call. When he says you're overreacting, remember that your feelings matter. When he says you're different from other girls, remember you don't need to prove your worth. And when he says, "I never asked you to do that," remember that your love is not a mistake. It's just time to give it to someone who knows how to treasure it. You deserve love that doesn't confuse you, love that doesn't drain you, love that gives as much as it takes. And the moment you decide to believe that is the moment everything in your life begins to change. Because being used is never your story's ending. It's just the turning point that reminds you how powerful you truly are when you finally stop accepting less than what you deserve.